because of their sexual secrets.
There's a lot of reasons. That's probably one of them. I don't know.
Now, you're
Nico
sure that's not going to hurt? It's rubbing there?
No, not at all.
But it rubs.
Yeah.
Can't you, maybe could you put it right on this? And it won't.
We're rolling.
Okay, great. Okay, so where I was at with Ugly George, I kind of hate calling you that, but that's something you've grown accustomed to, right? How did that name first happen, actually, now that I'm deviating into this?
It came from an old girlfriend who wanted to keep rival girls away from me. And when other girls would say, I saw you with that kind of good-looking guy. What's his name? She would say, oh, he's not good-looking at all. He's ugly. In fact, I call him Ugly George. And
that's no woman, that's no lady, that's my wife, that kind of
something
thing?
like that. Like, he's really not anything. You girls shouldn't be interested in him. That was her way of keeping other girls away from me.
So that's how you got your name?
Well, she was very possessive, which is why I never married her. But it's a long story. But I want everybody to know out there that I'm sitting next to the reason why we need big government to protect us from public access TV. Because one glimpse of Paula Gloria's body would destroy people all over the United States and its 2,200 cable systems. One look at this woman.
2,200.
One look. And that's why I'm here to argue for censorship and for governmental control of public access. Because in New York, maybe they could take it, but that's New York.
That's New York,
that's
right.
Sodom on the Hudson, as it's been called. Not by me, it's been called Sodom on the Hudson. But in every other place in the United States, from San Luis Obispo to Dallas to Fort Worth to Pittsburgh, America would be destroyed if they looked at this woman nude, okay? And even heard some of the things she has to talk about. All right? Evil, right here, the devil, Satan himself, okay? The Scarlet Woman, Eve personified with the apple, right here, students, okay? Evil right here. And so that's why we need to protect America from the likes of Paula Gloria. And if you believe that, I have a communist dictatorship for you. Does this woman look evil to you, this blonde woman right here? Does she look like she could or would destroy anybody? But these are the reasons that have been given that we can't have public access like we do in New York because of people like Paula Gloria.
Did you know Sidney Dean?
No.
What do you think he would have thought of your work? Or he must have known your work because he died in '92. He had to know.
I'm sure he knew of my work. And the excuse that was always given, in fact, it was given in 1981 as an excuse to censor cable TV, glorious liberalism said that we must have public access unfettered and uncensored. But it was a nice experiment. However, evil has taken over. And it was never foreseen by Sidney Dean, Mayor John Lindsay. John Lindsay was the guy who really brought it in, you know.
Oh, really?
Yeah, as the mayor.
He was a good guy, huh?
Not necessarily. He didn't do it for that reason, in case you're interested.
Okay.
Mayor John Lindsay was 6'6" and was the handsomest mayor ever elected in New York. John Lindsay did not want only to be the mayor of New York. He had his eyes on a certain house that's painted white. And John Lindsay said, boy, am I the greatest or what? Here I am, the leader of the greatest city in the United States in the late 60s. Now I'm going to be reelected again for my second term. You know what? This town is too small for me. I think I should be, dare I say it, President of the United States. And in order to make a monument for myself, there's a new thing called cable TV. So I want New York City, meaning me, John Lindsay, who I met many times, to have the greatest cable TV system, bar none, far better than any other place, because it's really a monument to me, John Lindsay, okay? So he didn't do it because he liked me or foresaw me or he liked Sidney Dean. He did it as a monument to himself.
Wow, I see what you're saying.
Okay. So right from the beginning, by the way, the New York City cable system had 2 channels, public access, that said no censorship. I am virtually telling the truth. It was the only cable system out of 20, 200, 2,000 that had that in the United States. Nobody else did.
It's so important because it even goes beyond democracy, because if democracy is rule of the majority, that means you don't hear the minority opinion, and public access ensures that you get the minority opinion also, at least to be heard, at least to be considered.
Not in 2,000 systems across the United States. This is what I'm trying to tell you.
Right.
In 2,000 systems across the United States, every place but New York, it was exactly the opposite, where they said, now that we have this franchise in our control, us, the town council, us, the mayor and the town council, we want to firmly establish that nothing goes on that criticizes us, that tells the truth, that may tell about our corrupt deals in the town.
Oh.
So we don't want that. What we want is blandness, and also, not so incidentally, let's essentially have public access to support us. So if you want to do a show saying the mayor is the greatest and the town council is the greatest, no problem. You get no censorship at all.
Right.
But if you want to come out and say, you know, the mayor had a corrupt deal with his brother-in-law who just won a city contract for $1 million the other day. Oh, no, 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 no. That might be offensive.
But that can go on Manhattan Neighborhood Network, right?
Only, see, I'm trying to drive home the point. Even you don't quite get it.
Okay, even me, of course not me. I mean, I don't get everything.
Let's call it 2,000 major cable systems in the United States. New York is the only one, MNN, what you now call MNN. New York is the only one that said no censorship and no prior censorship. It's the only one that did that. I have to tell you this with some mixed pride, because I have it in here. Philly Incorporated Business has just come out with the news that Philadelphia has finally gotten public access as New York knows it. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Public access in New York starting 1974. Am I right? This is the year 2008, okay?
Wow.
More than 30 years later, Philadelphia, only 90 miles from here, finally gets public access as we know it.
Really?
Yes, because the access that's been in Philly before now, and there's been very little of it, is the kind I'm telling you about. The Philadelphia City Council has to approve it, it has to set up a committee, whatever the cable systems are in Philadelphia, they have to approve the shows. This is every place but New York. And so I got to tell you with some pride, guess who's mentioned in Philly Incorporated? Moi.
Really?
And it says, now that we've gotten public access, are we going to be saddled with people like Ugly George that they have in New York? So once again, I'm the whipping boy 30 years later.
Well,
I'm the devil.
When is your show on?
Okay. The show used to be on cable TV. It was the biggest show. It was thrown off 5 times. 5 times by the powers that be. I won't mention the word Time Warner.
Okay.
I won't mention that.
Okay.
As Fritz Mondale would say. But I was thrown off 5 times. I never got any support or backing from the loudmouth liberal lawyers in New York. Not from the Civil Liberties Union, not from Norman Siegel, not from the American Civil Liberties Union and Nadine Strossen. No backing whatsoever. I had to fight my way back on 4 out of the 5 times, and I did.
Really?
Okay? So.
But what motivates you? I mean, you're an artist. You're not getting any money from it.
No, me and Teddy Roosevelt have the same idea. If you remember Teddy, okay, who, by the way, had an operating theater right up the block, which is named after him.
I saw that.
Okay, Teddy said, they said, why do you want to be president of the United States so much? And he said 2 very famous words. He said, because it's a bully pulpit. And it's a bully pulpit is public access cable TV. It's the best, bulliest pulpit around.
Do you get that from your background, your family? Do you come from entertainers?
No, not in the least. I come from garbage men. My uncle was the most talented garbage man in the history of Brooklyn.
Really?
Yes, he was a wonderful entertainer as he was dumping the garbage.
Well, you know, when I go around on my bicycle, it's the garbage men who are very cheerful and happy. I mean, not all of them, but a lot of them.
Okay.
You know, they have a smile on their face. They give you the high sign, you know, when you're going by on your bike.
I mean, I might say this without offending Josh or anybody. I come from a line of professional garbage men.
So what I was going to say is that I think that the society should be able to move with less inhibition on all levels. And I think that your work can be viewed as offensive only when there's a lot of restrictions in the thinking. No, this is for Josh coming. I've got a mic too.
Okay, what you're saying in a complicated way is let the people decide. That's basically what you're saying. Whether it's Tantra or this or that or the other thing, you know what? The whole country should be a gigantic public access or internet TV with thousands, if not millions, of channels. That's what you're saying.
And let them decide what they
and
want to see.
let the people decide what they want to look for, what they want to see, whether they want to go to it or not go to it.
And let them teach each other, too,
Well, you know what? Let any critic that's out and says the people can see anything they want to, except, and here's why, and it's dangerous, and it's bad, and it's evil, you know what? He's got to prove his point.
Why it's bad and dangerous.
Why
and
it's
evil.
bad and dangerous. And you know what? He's got Ugly George to face. Now you tell me why a naked woman is offensive to children who shouldn't be watching it anyway because you're parents. Why are you letting them watch this? It's your problem, not society's problem. Number two, why it's offensive to this group or this religion or that religion, okay? Because once you let them have their toe in the door, that you can't put this on because it never stops. The list grows longer and longer and longer. Well, you just offended Native Americans. You just offended this
They
group.
brought that up in Sidney Dean's interview.
Yeah,
They
you
were
offended that group. You offended this group. So you can say anything you want. We have the First Amendment, except this long list. And the list grows and grows and grows and grows.
Right.
And as I like to say, there's one group of people that is never on that list. I don't want to shock you, but you know what those people are called? WASPs, which theoretically means white Anglo-Saxon Protestants. You know, among the loudmouth liberal scum, there is not one instance of them ever backing the right of white Anglo-Saxon Protestants not to be offended. They got every other group in history, but never WASPs, who, by the way, are the people who founded this country and lived here for 300 years. Okay?
Well, you know, Harold Channer was complaining about that. We'll let Harold speak to that one.
Okay, but
But what about appealing, or maybe appeal isn't the right word, that you might incite base passions in the lowest common denominator of human
another toe
desire
opener. Another toe opener. Let's get our toe in the door by saying we can handle it. We, the critics, calling for censorship. But that other group might not be able to handle it. And because they might not be able to handle it, it's not that we're communists or anything, but that should be censored, comrade, because this group can't handle it. See, let them in the door with one instance dragging down the First Amendment to the Bill of Rights, and it never ends.
But what about good parenting? Because, you know, a little child is impressionable. Howard Stern, I heard, didn't want his own children to listen to his show. What do you think of that?
If I were Howard Stern's child, I wouldn't want to listen to her show either. I would be offended. But anyway, the point is that...
I wonder what Noam Chomsky would say about innate syntax, if there's an innate sense of offense.
If I was
human
Noam
beings,
Chomsky's mistress, as you probably are, okay, I would be offended too. Anyway, the point is that a parent's home is their castle, and what they do with their children is largely their decision. So if they choose to allow their children to watch this, all right, it's not the fault of society. It's not for society to come out and say, oh my God, look at how those children grew up. Okay? It's not the fault of big government to walk in and say, look at how those children are. Okay?
Yeah.
It's largely their decision.
Yeah, right.
Now, if those children go out and do something bad, you know what? It's the parents that are put on trial, not freedom of speech. So if you can come into somebody's house and say, you people are wrong because you allowed them to watch the Ugly George show, then you can march into their home and tell them they're wrong for any other purpose in history.
You know, I don't have children, so I can't say, but in April, I think my sister's going to come, so maybe I could invite you back and we can have a discussion with her about children.
As long as she doesn't offend, the people of the city of New York, okay?
I'm sure it will work
They
out
may
fine.
not be able to control their passions once they see your sister.
Well,
People may be driven crazy when they see your sister and listen to what she has to say. And so therefore, maybe we can't have her on because she might incite riots in the street. There's the same argument, right?
she's mild-mannered. Is there anybody in the control room, maybe Joe or Josh, that want to ask some questions? Josh can come out, or you can ask from the control. Oh, here's Joe. Because I like the idea of interaction. Oh, okay, Josh first. Maybe come around the back so you can come around the back.
First of all, I want to give testimony.
Maybe a little farther. Watch the soundboard. He's got a booming voice.
I'm microphone 4. I want to give testimony, first of all, that I'm not a hypocrite. I watched the Ugly George show, but I'm more concerned with the arts. I'm more concerned that the poetry of Allen Ginsberg, or a few days ago on his Sundance channel, I saw James Baldwin's poetry put to black and white film, and there was, James Baldwin was gay, but that's really irrelevant in what I'm trying to point out. But there was sexual interaction in that film on Channel 101 in Manhattan. It's great art like that cannot be portrayed in its entirety, and that's censored, which worries me.
But who is destroyed by watching that film?
If a poet or a writer wants to include 4 and 3-letter words, whatever they are, this, I think, should be the right of them.
Could you please tell us?
No, what are you saying, Josh?
Should be the right of the artist.
Okay.
And
Baldwin's film aired already.
No, just a second. I don't understand what the argument is.
Now wait.
Can you explain?
Baldwin's film aired already. It's now a couple of days later.
Yes.
Okay. Who was destroyed? What riots were there in the street from that film being on?
There were none. There were none.
The city survived?
Yes.
And the subscribers watched this, and they weren't offended, and they weren't destroyed, and they didn't rise with torches and say, let's burn down the castle?
Yes. But I had a producer, when I mentioned you were going to be on this show, I had a producer that we love and cherish here saying that I won't even go near Ugly George.
And she's probably right.
I mean...
Is it a she?
And he's a criminal. He portrays nude women. And by the way, I saw a nude woman in the New Yorker about a week ago. A full...
No, the current issue has a nude woman in it, a very famous nude woman.
Yes.
So you know what? He should go picket New York Magazine for running that nude woman with her, can I say nipples in front of her? With her nipples out in New York Magazine this week, okay? So he should go protest that magazine.
There are other civilizations, I'm not prepared with the images, where women would dress with their breasts exposed. That was how they dressed.
Are you talking about every tropical image in history?
This is in the Mediterranean. This is the cornerstone of our Western civilization.
Okay, what about the South Seas Islands? What about Africa?
Yeah.
You know, there are many stories of missionaries trying to get Africans, and as forgive this word, they used to use the word natives, which is politically incorrect today, to get native women to cover their boobs, okay? And they said, no, you can't do that, you can't do that. Native women were saying, we've been doing this for 2 million years, what's wrong with it? And by the way, it's hot out here.
Like Joe Friendly does this, he stoops down. Now, supposing I was defending Barack, I am. How do you know he didn't do what he allegedly did in the privacy of his own home?
I think he's just saying let the public work it out.
I'm saying let the people decide. This guy is a credible witness. He's not a wild-eyed conspiracy theorist. He's come up with very plausible evidence that this happened in the back of a limousine while Obama was an Illinois state legislator, not a private citizen. Get it?
But I feel the softness of Josh's heart, right? You're thinking it's cruel to bring that out. Is that right?
Yes. Well, I'm a soft-hearted guy.
It's not cruel. It's if this happened and Brum is lying about it, should we know about the President of the United States lying before he's elected? Look at what they did. I mean, speaking of crucifying, what they did to St. Nixon. They crucified him. They said, "You lied, Nixon, you lied, and therefore you have to be stripped of your post and impeached and drawn and quartered and run out of town tarred and feathered because you lied." Not that you broke into the Watergate, but that you lied about it. Now, that's breaking into the Watergate, which he didn't do anyway. What about having oral sex in the back of a limousine while you were a legislator, okay, and then lying about it?
So you don't have a problem with him doing it. You just have a problem with him lying about it. Or you have a problem with the media not discussing it. When
I have a problem with the media not discussing it, and this man, while he was a legislator, in other words, accepting tax money and making up laws.
Yeah. Well, you know,
Okay.
the only reason I'm for all of this, Josh, is I think the more you expose secrets, the less people can be blackmailed. That's why I'm all for discussing real life, what really happens, what real human beings do. I think it will lead to more forgiveness, more compassion, and more understanding, and greater clarity and less manipulation of the politicians to say, if you don't make the right move, I'm going to show these dirty pictures of you with the prostitute or the guy with the cocaine. And
What's so amazing is Paula doesn't know anything about France or Europe. Do you know that a French premier could probably not be elected unless he had a mistress? Okay? Unless he had a mistress. They would say, what's wrong with him? Is he a faggot? All right? Of course he has a mistress. From Sarkozy going way back 150 years. Of course Emperor Napoleon had mistresses. Okay?
Yeah.
And the same thing, by the way.
No, I know all about Indian culture. They had harems, hundreds of women.
Oh,
The emperor was supposed to go through the town on the top of an elephant with an erection that the people could see, so they knew the power was in the hands of the ruler.
Well,
That's what he was supposed to do.
Well, how would he be elected emperor without a harem? All right? I mean, you got to have a harem, or you're nobody.
It's amazing the way people pick up their values. For instance, my family was puritanical. I realize it now.
Yeah.
But I'm also a painter and an artist, and I've been doing nude studies down at the Art Students League on 57th Street, and I've been doing studying figure painting down at the National Academy Arts on Fifth Avenue, and so on. And I did numerous nudes. And if Paula was able to visit me that day that she came on a bicycle, she would have been very interested in seeing all this wonderful art that I did of all these models hanging all over
my
so
sister,
whenever I see a nude woman, I don't pay attention.
Well, I have a revelation, students. If you pay attention to this show, you may see a nude painting of Josh Valinsky by Paula Gloria. So stay tuned to this show, students. Okay? Because the nude that Josh is talking about is himself. He was nude at the Art Students League, and all those female students were crowded around. Josh, please hold that pose. I got to paint this.
That's great. Joe,
You heard it here first.
Yes.
Joe, do you have anything to say about free speech? And because I think we all sense that sexual energy would liberate us.
Here
right?
he comes.
And enjoying each other.
He'll
and
push me out with his beard.
He'll push you out with the beard.
Okay.
No, you can stay.
I just want to get it straight. So the testimony is that he received a blowjob?
There's more than that. He received several BJs and several drugs.
Not at the same time.
Not at the same time, but also drugs.
Is it a Capricorn? Is that what you're going to ask? When's
Now,
his
by the way,
birthday?
since you asked this is the man who will hopefully or soon, according to him, be in charge of the anti-drug programs of the United States using drugs. So what does that have to say?
As I understand,
I see
in
what you're
2004, when he was running for Senate, he said he was for legalizing marijuana.
Okay, but again, we have many anti-drug laws in the United States.
Did he do cocaine too?
Okay, that's what the allegation is. But again, here's the point. We have all these programs. I didn't say they're right. I didn't say I liked them. I didn't say that Josh liked them, or Joe liked them, or you liked them. I just said these laws exist. They're on the books. And here we have a man who allegedly not only violated these laws, but lied about it, going to be in charge of the anti-drug programs of the United States.
And mainstream media doesn't talk about it, left or right.
And mainstream media says we can't even dignify this with any media coverage of this. The man is commander-in-chief of the anti-drug war.
Well, you know, I wasn't as lucky as you, George.
Yeah.
The first woman I liked who had big boobs,
Yeah.
I told it to her and she started crying. So
Why? Why did she cry?
That's a good idea.
By the way, you
there was
mentioned-
a woman near her, and that's what she asked
Okay, you
her.
mentioned
Why are
Allen
you crying?
Ginsberg.
What's there to
I got to
cry
tell
about?
you this.
Yeah.
I got to tell you this.
You
Allen
liked him, right?
Ginsberg walked up to me at an event many years ago, before he passed away, and I was telling him about big boobs, and he looked at me and he said, "I like them underneath," meaning testicles, meaning he was gay.
Oh, I see.
And he didn't quite exactly
don't
come out
flee
and say
away,
that,
Joe, at the-
but that's kind of what he meant, okay? And that was Allen Ginsberg himself,
Oh,
you know, the head of the Beat Generation with Jack Kerouac and all that stuff. So he told me that himself, just so you know. Now, the other Ginsberg did not tell me that story, and that was the publisher of that well-known Notorious magazine who actually did some jail time, okay?
Who's that?
On God, I think it
Who's
was
that?
called.
Yeah, and when I walked up to him, I said, "Have you been indicted for anything yet today?" He didn't think that was too funny, okay? But you get the idea.
You're a colorful New York icon. There's no doubt
Because
about it. Both
these
you
colorful
guys.
icons have either come up to me or walked away from me quickly on the street and said, "You know what I fear about Ugly George? It's not his gun, it's not his submachine gun, it's this.
The
his
camera.
Panasonic camera."
Yeah.
Okay? And it's going to be on TV and people are going to see it. And there have been many people that have beaten a hasty retreat when they've seen my camera.
Right.
And there are a few who have actually walked up to me when they saw the camera. One of them being a well-known would-be president of the United States named George McGovern.
No.
The other being the mother of the president of the United States, who gave me a very notable quote, which will be in my upcoming movie. 82-year-old Lillian Carter talks about sex on television to Ugly George, mother of Jimmy Carter.
Really?
Yes, sex on television, and she talks to me about it. And that's if
What did she say?
I can't tell you, but if you
Have to buy the DVD.
if you
Is that how we're
see
going to
the
finally
movie,
monetize stuff here?
Okay, which will include a nude scene with Rhea Perlman and Michael Moore. It's called Fahrenheit 9/11 and Ugly George. And you will see Miss Lillian Carter, 82 years old, mother of the President of the United States, Jimmy Carter, talking about sex on television.
How interesting.
Very, very hip thing to do for an 82-year-old woman.
What would you say to somebody who very seriously and respectfully said, "What you do, George, is superficial and gross"? How would you answer them?
Turn to something better.
We only have 1 minute.
Turn to something better.
Turn to something better. Okay.
Right.
Well,
That's
I'm
the
going
Paula Gloria show, which is definitely better.
Well, thank you, all of you, for joining me, and thank you, all the viewers in the future, for leaving comments about this. I'm very eager for your feedback because I feel that the new media is something that evolves between the viewer and the scene. Does that make sense?
And if you've had the bad taste to be watching this, you should be ashamed of yourself.
But I'm here to get rid of and dissolve all shame and guilt. Punishment never works. We want to get beyond reward-punishment models. So I hope that you join me again, Ugly George, and Josh, as always, I enjoy sharing the spot with you. Thank you. Thank you, Robin. Thank
I
you,
hope we
Joe.
raise some ratings
It's
here.
my pleasure.
Yes.
Robin's
That was
great
really
director.
fun. That was just fun.
Okay.
Thank you, Josh.
She had two models here. for a
Yes,
while.
and when my bridge gets fixed, I'll be
You
able
saw
to say
the-
yes a lot
You
better.
saw her two
Yes.
models?
Yes, but they ran away.
They ran away.
They
They
took
know
one look
they're
at me and they
actors.
ran away.
They're actors.
Well,
They probably don't, they're kind of young. They don't know it.
Oh, we'll help you with
They
it.
don't know the history. This is really fun.
Just so you know, Josh, I can talk about myself.
Well, I'll even tell you the producer who said that. Not the first thing.
Yeah.
The first thing, I don't know his name. I'll have to ask him. But the second one, who I quoted a few minutes ago,
Yeah.
the saying she won't come, was Gloria Mazer. No, Mazer.
Is she the one that works with Harold Hudson Channer?
Sometimes.
She's the like technical person.
Yeah, very technical. Very good with lights. She
You
said,
asked
"I
me
won't
why
even-"
I can't take her seriously? Okay?
Well, she
Just
doesn't
sit
even.
down. No,